Anyway, I figured I'll tune in for a little update on my Indian chairs. It's been a while that I posted a video because these guys take a lot of time. It's a lot of handwork, metal that I need to clean, and also it's been just really, really hot, so I wasn't very motivated to work at 30 plus degrees on my balcony, scrubbing away and sanding on my chairs. So currently what I'm doing here is I'm cleaning the metal part. The first chair I've already finished, but I'm not going to show you until all of them are done. I've edited my video, so you'll have to wait for that. I'm sorry. Yes, as I said, I've been cleaning my metal. You see the trim here. It turned out that there was a really nice surprise hidden underneath, which are the little parts here that are actually brass. So that looks absolutely stunning. I'm working with a bunch of different products, as you can see, to try to clean that up because there's about 100 years of grime on these. In any case, so let's get to that. Do tell me where you're from because I feel like I'm talking to myself and nobody's writing anything in the chat. Thanks. The first product that I used is this. This is specifically for metal. And with that, I basically just give everything a rub down to get the heaviest grease off. It looks like this. I just basically cut off a little bit of it, and it sticks. And I rubbed this down a few days ago, and then I let it sit, and then I scrubbed it with a metal brush, basically. Try to take something that is not too hard, just not to damage the metal. And then obviously a regular brush as well. And then I have a little bucket of water to clean out my brush. So that was number one that I used. And the next one is this here, just to kind of get the rust off and to prevent it from oxidizing again. So we'll do that now. I have a little container here somewhere. So I fill a little bit into this here. Very interesting to watch you working on your chairs. Thank you very much. Okay, so as I said, I filled a little bit of this into a glass bowl, and then I just dunk my brush into that, and I start scrubbing. And this is basically a large part of my days here, because there's a truck. Because this basically, on the last chair, took me, I think, 4 or 5 days to clean all of the metal parts, because you have this metal bit on the back, which is a bit awkward to show right now, and then I have the trim here in the front, and then these braces for underneath. So as you can imagine, that just takes a lot of time. But you can already see, I think, let me try to get you a bit closer here. Oop. There we go. You can already see the brass coming out. So I don't know if you can see that properly. You can already see the difference in color. How amazing is that? And also, yuck. And yes, technically you should be doing this with gloves, but quite frankly, with this heat, the rubber gloves do more damage to my hands than the chemicals. Words are hard. And also, I try not to touch them. But yeah, I basically just wanted to show everyone what's happening. Do you have any questions regarding the process of cleaning the metal or the wood? Because obviously I'm starting the process with cleaning all the metal before I get to sanding, because if any of the product ends up on the wood, which it inevitably will, and dries here, I don't want to have sanded everything and then have to re-clean it. And yes, it is hard work indeed. Yes, so I don't want this to dry on the wood when I have already sanded it, because now if something ends up on the wood, I can sand it off later and then I won't have any issues. And then obviously when that is done, because I'm doing certain areas, I start with 60 grit, because this is actually all solid Indian rosewood. So it's not veneered, so I don't have to worry too much. And this, obviously the surface has been used up a lot. So I do the surface with 60. Everything else I start with 80 grit for sanding. So yeah, 60, then 80, then I do 120, and then I do 180. So you can imagine with all of these curves, which I'm all doing by hand, this big surface is the only thing that I can do with machine technically, but it's not really worth it to knock out the machine for this little surface. So yeah, that takes a lot of time. And yeah, that's why I haven't posted a video yet, because yeah. Anywho, as I was saying before I started ranting, this is solid wood, therefore I can start with a lower grit to kind of get this discoloration off. And honestly, as I said, I've finished already one chair, and the difference is absolutely insane. I couldn't believe it myself. Plus, obviously, the surprise of having brass on here. So, yay. Now, I see a few people being online. Where are you watching from? I see you're all very shy about talking. Yes, apparently you're the only one writing a comment. Everyone else is being a chicken. Though we have one contributor that's really good on the on all the little emojis. Though I'm not entirely sure what they're actually depicting. Oh yeah, a chicken. That one I know. So, can you see this already? Tell me that doesn't look amazing. Yeah, it's amazing how well it cleans up. Yes, indeed. All of the chemicals. Who'd have thought that would be hiding under 100 years of neglect? Absolutely. When I first saw that, I was flabbergasted. I was floored. I definitely didn't expect that. I thought it would be just some tin or whatever, but it's actually really, really lovely. Which brings me to the next point. So basically, I'm scrubbing this down as a first round. The next thing that I will do, just to kind of walk you through that, because I'm not going to keep you here for the next 35 years while I clean this. Take care of your skin. Yes, always. So I try to touch the chemicals as little as I can. I don't come in direct contact with them usually, and I wipe it down. And plus, hand cream is your best friend when you do this kind of work. Anyway, so when I finished doing this once or twice, those chemicals are not easy. Yeah, that is true. So once I have scrubbed this once or twice with this solution, so I basically go over everything and then I check how much grime do I still have on it, and I might do a second pass. When I have done that, I will apply Brasso, which, if you've never heard of it, this is a great product. I love this. So basically, then I drizzle that also indiscriminately on all the metal, and then I scrub that down one more time, because it just brings out the brass really, really nicely, and it takes off the last bit of surface dirt that might be on there, and it just looks really, really, really nice. So that will be the last step for cleaning the metal. Once I have done all of that, I don't know if you can see that. I've already scrubbed down here. I'm going to try to move my camera. Hold on. You can see here, I have already done all of the cleaning on this here. So it looks pretty decent, I'd say. So once I have done all of that, the last step will be this. This is basically it transforms, oxidizes. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not a chemist. Excuse my ignorance here. This is what the internet told me to use for metal. So I will apply this on top of everything, on the metal parts. And it gives it protection from rust. It darkens the metal. It kind of turns into a black. And then basically my metal parts are done. But again, I'm only going to do this last step after I've cleaned everything and after I have done all my sanding. Yeah, so now you know my process here. So this is going to take some time. And then when I have applied all of this, also the oxyride, what does it say? By the way, it's comfortable to sit on this chair. I mean, I'm also going to make a cushion. That is the plan. So there's old cushions for this. I got a new fabric, which I want to wax, so that because these are obviously outdoor chairs. So basically what I want to do is the fabric will get a layer of wax. I'm going to get 100% beeswax. And there's a specific process that I'm also going to include in this video. But the short and the long of it is you apply the wax, you iron it in, and it kind of becomes impregnable against like weather and rain, and you can wipe it down really easily, and the fabric will not soak up dirt and water. So obviously I'm going to make new cushions, and then if you're a delicate little princess like me, you can sit your behind on a cushion, and if not, you can sit on the chair. But yeah, so far so good. They're relatively low, because traditionally these chairs, Indians would sit on them cross-legged. So you wouldn't sit like a regular chair at a, okay, that's a great demonstration, like on a 90-degree angle. They would basically just sit on them cross-legged. So they're relatively low at about 30 to 35 centimeter traditionally. But yes, there will be a cushion, there will be comfort, don't worry. Feel free to fire any other questions along my way that you might have. Don't forget to put under your cushion, an Erbse. Okay, that's a very German thing. We have a thing that is a princess on the P. I don't know if it translates into any other language, but basically it's the test of how do you detect a real princess. You put a pea under 100 mattresses, and if she wakes up the next day with terrible backache, she will say there was something that wasn't comfortable. She's a princess. Do you know anything about the history of the chairs? Yes, in fact, I have done a bunch of research on them. Which, I'll be honest, I don't have memorized to mind just yet, but it's incredibly interesting. And there's a lot of chair details on this chair that gave indication on how old they are, where precisely they're from in India. And I will talk about all of that when I do the video, because it's really, really, really interesting. But yeah, they're about from 19, as a quick recap, they're about from 1920, and most likely from the area of Rajasthan, which is the north of India. And they were used in plantations and homesteads like that. But as I said, more and on the history and the details, where we'll show you the corresponding details on the chairs that gave this kind of thing away, and helped me determine where they're from and how old they are when I do the proper video. So you guys still haven't told me where you're actually watching from. I'd be really interested to know. It was interesting for me how Indian people sit on the chair. I didn't know. Yes, they're very big on cross-legged, almost floor sitting. They weren't really into the traditional European chairs where you more or less sit at a 90-degree angle. Okay, we have one German. For those of you that didn't know, I'm half German, half Lebanese, by the way. Okay, so I gave this bit its first scrub down. The brass has turned out really nice. I'm going to try to turn this a bit so you can see. There we go. Oh. But the black bits are still very grimy. So there's one little bit where I can already see silver popping out of. But I will have to give this another 1 or 2 times over just to, oh, what does she say? I can imagine you have to get used to such sitting position. Elderly people mostly prefer higher chairs. I guess it's always what you're used to. You have a lot of Southeast Asian cultures that don't really do the chair seating, and so if you're used to squatting, if you're used to just sitting low, I guess I don't know if you're more flexible, but you're just used to it. Well done for the first brush. Thank you so much. But yes, as I showed you here before, uh, this came out much better. Obviously, I did, I think, 2 passes on it, and it was fine. So I'm hoping that if I do one more pass on this, this will be okay. You can already see some areas that have dried now. I'm going to try to show you. I don't know how well it shows, but you can see some of the black that is already disappearing, and especially in the middle where it comes out a bit more silver. So that's basically what we are aiming for. And I'm hoping that one more pass over will do the trick. So yeah, so you see what I've been doing over the last couple of weeks, I want to say. And you'll find me here likely for another 375 years scrubbing away on my metal. But the temperatures have come down, so I'm hoping that I can finish this chair in a week. I'm saying, to be optimistic, but most likely it's going to be more like 10 days, especially that I don't usually work on the weekends. So this chair seems to be in pretty okay condition. Otherwise, the other chair, I had to do a bit of repairs. I had to glue up some gaps and clamp them down, which I would have preferred to do with hide glue, because usually on antiques you should always work with hide glue. But I couldn't get that here, and delivering it would have taken 3 weeks, and I didn't want to wait. So anyway, it seems generally structurally in okay condition. There doesn't seem to be much that I need to glue. There is one area of the chair here which you can't see from this angle, but basically here the inside is a bit carved away. So I'm going to sand this down a bit, but I think I'm going to fill this. I'm going to fill this with either Bondo or 2-part epoxy, because while I don't think it's not structurally sound anymore, it's a pretty deep gash that I'd just like to fix, because generally I always try to weigh, especially with things that are antique, how much repair do you want to do, right? You have your purists that say, oh no, you shouldn't do anything about it, it will lose its value, etc., etc. But ultimately, I care about structural integrity, especially for a chair. Nobody likes to fall on their face, especially not me. So yeah, so I think considering this is in a spot that is a bit more delicate, I will fill this up, and then I'll do a bit of color matching, because the other spot on the other chair, you wouldn't know that it's there. So you can do pretty much, you can do a lot with color matching. So that is the idea for this part. I don't know, I can try to show you. Should I try to show you guys? I'll just take your silence as a yes. So, hello. So you can see that from here. You see how you have a pretty deep gash here. And so I think at least a part of it, at least the bottom part here, I will fill in, and I'm going to see how it looks while I do it. So yeah, that is the plan, but this will come, as I said, after I sand down everything, so we'll see how it goes. Anywho, I just wanted to give everyone a quick update on where things are at, because I posted is at this point, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I just wanted to say hi, I'm still alive, I'm still doing things, and it was great catching up. And if you're interested, leave me a comment if I should do another live chat at some point. And in the meantime, I wish you a good day. Oh, wait. You have to find an alternative between Rekonstruktion and Erhaltung der alten Substanz. Okay, Erhaltung der alten Substanz, keeping the old substance, basically. Find a middle ground between the purist and the oh, let's just give everything a makeover so it looks like it's new. I absolutely agree with that. I'm absolutely on board with that. Like I do want to keep the character of any piece that I work. Like I've worked on a few things that are considered antique at this point, and I always try to find the middle ground between modernizing it a bit, giving a bit of an update, but also keeping its character and making sure it keeps this essence of where it came from, right? Um, it's a fine balance. I get it. And some people will still say, like, oh no, you've done too much or you shouldn't have done anything. But ultimately, they're not sitting on them. So here we are. So yeah, anyway, let me know if you would like me to do another update at some point. And if not, I'm very happy for the people that have signed in, that have joined me and watched me ramble and talk to myself for a bit. And hope to see you again soon. So take care, you guys. Bye.